and welcome to the Sad Dads Club podcast. Here's everybody's favorite sad dads, Jim and Foo.
Room. What is that?
Throne room. Oh, my Apple TV?
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, because it's in the throne room.
Well, I was like, I don't remember this AirPlay thing being in the menu bar of this machine because I thought that was a newer feature and this is an old machine that can't be updated.
Yes.
So I just clicked on it and I'm like, oh, it's AirPlay. I didn't even realize it was AirPlay. And I'm like, what is the Lord Fu throne room?
Hell yeah, that's the living room.
The throne room. I thought it was a bathroom.
What did I use that for? Normally, we're just using it for the things that are on there, so like all the streaming services or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was in the living room the other day, and I think it was one of the days that Piper and Emily went up the hill to snowboard, and you know when it's snowing up there, I've got North Star's cameras up, Heavenly's cameras up, and the I-80 CCTV cameras up,
like the CHP shit. And...
I just the CHP.
Yeah.
I just enjoy probably more so the CCTV stuff, like the just
here comes the plow. Here's the traffic.
Yeah, just watching the cars and snow, and a lot of times it's just
it's just serene.
No cars. It's just serene.
Yeah.
I think Venus caught me. It might have been masturbating to snow. I think it was the Sunday when I was working the day after, and I just had it that one of the CCTV cameras, and it was snowing. It was like winter advisory.
Yeah, and
I could have been watching that on YouTube, but for whatever reason, I was just watching. It was the 89, the Truckee 89 intersection that's a roundabout now.
Yeah.
And it was just starting to come down. And I'll be honest, it was very serene. It was very white. There was tons of snow. But I was hoping
for a spin out of
for
some sort.
Some motherfucker from the Bay Area to be like, I don't understand what a roundabout is. And is this Highlander in four-wheel drive right now? And just watch someone in a
just scoot right across it.
It never happened. There were definitely a bunch of people that were like, that got to the roundabout and were then, because you could see, I mean, it was almost uncanny. Like you could see the nose of the car as they like would look up at the sign to, Truckee or continue on to North Shore.
Yeah.
And you could see like a pause and the nose of like the front wheel drive cars and the rear wheel drive cars would like, and then they would continue around.
Nice.
Or the, I went too far into the roundabout, and I'm trying to go to South Shore. And then I mean, it was good entertainment. No one wrecked.
Yeah,
but there was definitely a little bit of like, this is nice.
Yeah.
I like watching this, but I would like to see someone not in a 4x4 with a Thule rack. Just get a little...
Oh, here comes an Accord.
Yeah. What are you doing there, buddy?
Oh, here comes a Corolla.
Yeah. Let's go.
Or back in my day, here comes a Hyundai Excel.
Yes, yeah, right? Fucking a Kia Niro or something.
Or a Civic Si. That's what I was driving.
What are you going to do? You don't have chains on.
I never had chains.
Which way are you going, fucker?
But I usually didn't go that far down unless I was going to Homewood or something. Because I would go to Donner.
Oh,
so I'd stop up the hill.
The South Shore one, where 50 pretty much comes into South Shore, that big, it's a tilted like four-way intersection. They have a camera right there.
Mm-hmm.
When it really starts to come down in South Shore, that one's just an entertaining one to watch because invariably you see the...
Is that Pioneer Trail or something? Or not that far down?
I don't think it's that far.
Or is it a roundabout?
No, it's an intersection.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a stoplight, you see a lot of...
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I was going too fast for this.
Yeah. No, yellow. No. And a lot of into the intersection and then little backups. Anyway.
When was the last time you drove in snow like that?
Ooh.
A while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to. Falling snow. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
It's been a bit. I couldn't put a date on it.
I did take the Cadillac up to Grass Valley in the snow.
Are you comfortable in it? Do you?
Well, I wasn't sure what it was going to. That's one of those things where it's like I'm just heading into work,
right?
And I don't know what the conditions are like. It might be snowing up there, and I have to go to the office,
right?
And this was before I was working from home, so it was like get up there and like, oh, this is sketchy in this car, rear wheel drive. I have no chains.
Yeah.
Everything's low pro fucking tires and everything. So that car has a snow mode. So I put it in snow mode. And what that pretty much does is just dumbs the shit out of the throttle. So you can't poke it too hard.
Right.
And I put it in snow mode and man, it seemed to really help. I didn't really have any trouble. Didn't really lose grip at any point.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt sketched. In fact, I think, our VP of engineering was like, "Oh, you drove the Cadillac up here today?"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "I didn't know what it was going to be like."
Right.
Kind of a thing. And
is Shan's?
It's two-wheel drive.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were in an equipped all-wheel drive vehicle, you're
if it was a Subaru, or something,
comfortable in the snow.
Well, to be honest with you, I've never had an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive vehicle and driven in the snow.
Oh. And
I have driven in the snow plenty in, like I said, a Hyundai Excel, my old Civic Si.
Yeah.
My gray Civic. And I want to say something else. Oh, I drove the CRV up and over the pass in a snowstorm with chains on it. That was the only time I had chains on a car. Was that time coming from Reno up over the pass to home.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I fucking loved it.
Oh yeah.
I loved it was sketchy and all that shit, but like I never felt like I was out of control or was going to slide off the road. It had chains. Like it was just like, okay, I'm doing 20 or 25.
Yeah.
No biggie.
I think the last time I was in something that wasn't all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive was like late teens, early 20s, and we were in Venus's Pro, but we had chains, and it got. We were going up the hill, to ski or snowboard, or it might have been a timeshare or something.
Yeah,
I want to say we had a friend like Grant or John, so it wasn't just me and Venus, and I butchered her fender putting chains on. Like it had like
something swung off.
Yeah, well, it had like it fit all the way around, but there was like one like an extra link or wire, and that ended up smacking and just rotating around. I felt really bad about that, but made it. But that was probably the last time. We were in something that wasn't probably meant for it, and it like got wide out. Yeah. I'm comfortable. I'm always probably more concerned about everyone else.
Oh yeah.
But I pretty much like any. I'm
in slow snow mode.
Absolutely.
And
I just unplug any form of like urgency. It's like nope.
Yeah.
I have not. And this is like something that I've picked up in watching like rescue stuff and something just being older. I have never like aired down my tires, but I have been in situations where knowing now what I could have been doing then to just make it more safer.
Yeah.
Or make the drive safer and give me more traction. I have been in those situations. But I would not have been equipped to do so anyway.
Yeah.
I don't have, portable compressors. Probably when we were in our 20s and 30s was like
unobtainium.
Yeah, you're not really going to see those. Or there were these giant apparatuses that wouldn't have run or been convenient to hold in a fucking Civic or a Ford Probe or a Fiero anyway.
Right.
And I certainly wasn't into like the whole new hotness, like overlanding stuff in the Durango. I wasn't doing that shit.
Was it all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive?
The Durango?
Yeah.
4-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yeah, like 4 low, 4 high, like all the business. Funny you had mentioned snowmobile in the Cadillac. So we were looking yesterday? Because the Explorer has like a traction dial, but it doesn't have 4-wheel drive. It has... okay.
It has all-wheel drive.
It has all-wheel drive, but Ford calls it, I think, intelligent 4-wheel drive, but it is not high-low. So it doesn't do any gearing. There's no transfer case that I would...
So it's an on-the-fly, like, this thing's slipping, send power to the other guys kind of a thing.
And so it's not...
So it's more of an all-wheel drive system, like a...
I would classify it as all-wheel drive because there's not a high and low ranged transfer case. She has on there, like, sand, snow, something else, like loose gravel or something, and like a towing mode, I believe. But perhaps when she got her first one or early on when we bought it, I'm sure she said she had at one point like looked up what they did in the manual, and perhaps I did, but I couldn't recall. I'm like, well, what does it actually do?
What are the differences?
Because you don't have low, so it's not going to shift anything to gearing.
Yeah.
But when I flipped up the search results for it, what it does is pretty much the same as sounds like Cadillac. It totally like widens the throttle response so that if you're not crawling, but if you're going slow and you goose the throttle, it's not going to light up the wheels because you have no traction.
Yeah.
It will also enable like a very aggressive ABS stability control. So if it starts to feel something slip, it puts brakes using the ABS system to like balance traction. That seems like an additive that a lot of modern cars are doing that are all-wheel drive to get them in situations that are like slippery traction.
Yep.
But that boiling it down, it's the same. It just aggressive ABS for traction and stability support, and then your throttle response like just becomes like a giant sand pit, like a little bit, so that you don't break loose something.
Yeah. I mean, I did have one notable time when I drove my mom's 73 Plymouth Fury, 2-door coupe. So a fucking 25-yard length car with 2 doors. And I drove that to Homewood and back, which is at the lake level.
Yeah.
And it was dumping snow. I remember whiteout conditions in that thing. And that didn't even have posi, so it just was a one-wheel go.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I drove that in the snow all the way down 89 to Homewood and then all the way back.
You're like, it was good shredding.
And I did it,
Had a
and
good
it
time.
was sketchy as fuck. And that car steering is like driving a fucking boat, literally. I mean, it's got this much play in it, you know. So that was sketchy as shit. And then also I did have experience too with my cruiser. I had a PT Cruiser that did terrible in the snow. Terrible. In fact,
front wheel drive, right?
Yeah, it was. That was like the worst car I'd ever driven in the snow. I remember I was at the office. I'm looking out my window in my office, and the snow was starting to accumulate. And my manager comes by and goes, "You should probably get out of here." And I went, "Oh shit!" And I'm parked in the lower parking lot at AJA.
Yeah.
So I hop in the cruiser, and I barely make it out of the parking lot. It's like I had to go the back way because the front side was steep.
Yes.
So we're on the lower level, and you got to go up to get out of the parking lot. And so I go the back way, which is more gradual, barely make it out, get out to the street, and I'm like fucking white knuckling because this car has no traction. And I get off Crown Point Circle, and I make a left on whatever the name of that street is, and I can't remember the name of it. But I'm creeping. There are other people also leaving work with the same idea.
Yeah.
So I can see cars. The car in front of me, I had left fucking like 5 bus
Yes.
space in between me and that person. So I
Right.
had tons of room. That guy starts to brake, and I go, okay, shit. And I'm creeping. I'm like, maybe doing 10 or less.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, shit. So I tap the brakes, and the whole car all the tires just lock up, and the car starts to turn a little sideways. And I went, no, no, no. And I let the brake off, and it like caught and like snapped back going straight again.
Yeah.
And I went, oh God, please. I just got to slow down. And I'm glad I left myself that much room, because it was just like, I am barely touching the brake. Please do not hit this motherfucker.
Right.
And so I ended up because that was a pretty steep hill coming down to Brunswick.
Yeah. Yes.
And I, at the time, was commuting with this girl named April, and she worked, where was her office?
Prison?
She worked down off of, is that Brunswick, the next one down?
Yeah.
Oh, not Brunswick. I'm on the street before that, Idaho, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So I'm coming down to the end of Idaho, Maryland. I got to go pick up April. So I hang a left to go down Idaho, Maryland and up Main Street.
Okay.
And I'm doing okay. I mean, oddly, because it had sucked prior to this. And I'm going up Idaho, Maryland. I'm coming up where the theater is and like Big A's.
Yes.
The light turns red. And I go, no, because I just need the momentum.
Right. Yeah.
And sure as shit, I had to stop at the red light, and I got stuck, and I had to do a U-turn. I'm like holding up traffic I'm like, I can't go anymore. I just won't let me.
I'll be here for days.
So I still got to pick up April. And so I end up doing a U-turn, going back the way I came, down back to Idaho, Maryland, hang a left, go down Idaho, Maryland, past where I just came from Crown Point.
Okay.
And then I hang a left at the next stop sign, which is the 3-way. And if you keep going straight, you end up at 173 or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But I'm hanging a left there because I got to go get April. She's over at Brunswick somewhere.
Right.
So I hang a left, and it's kind of uphill, and I'm spinning the tires, trying to make it up. In the meantime, literally, Subarus are like bounding around me in the fucking dirt.
Yes.
So, it was more. I eventually made it to. She walked over the overpass to make it to where. I don't even know I don't know what you would remember is over there, but like over the overpass, down that street on the left side, and I picked her up, and then we went back the way I just came and got on the freeway and headed out of town. Sketchiest fucking drive. It was so sketchy.
If it means anything, all of those Subarus probably had blown head gaskets within 8 months.
Right. But it was just hilarious. And Steve used to tell me, because he had like a little old, I don't even remember what model it was, but a little old Subaru that was like a 4-door tiny little hatchback thing.
Yeah. And
the tires were super skinny. He was like, yeah, that car will go anywhere. I have driven through 3 feet of snow in that thing, and it's never gotten stuck. And I'm like hearing this, and I've got my cruiser, and it won't go any fucking where.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I had a friend that lived just before, where they if you're leaving AJA and you're coming home, just before you get to Alta Sierra, the big walls that they put up, like there used to be like RV mobile home parks, and there's a fire station there, and they put up these huge walls on either side of the freeway. I used to have a friend that lived on what would be the coming home, the left-hand side, like tucked back away in there, and they had a red Subaru wagon, and that thing, and it was those first were so boxy, and
that's what Steve's was like.
It was,
and they're small.
They're
not very big.
Just so fucking ugly. It was so ugly, and that was like right when we were like in high school, and like mini trucks were like the cool thing.
Yeah. And
his mom, who I absolutely adored, she was a lovely person. She drove that, and she'd pick up me and Todd, her son, in that thing in any weather. It would go anywhere, and it was still, because it was so fucking ugly. I just like every time. And then in hindsight, I always just had between the Subarus and the Hyundais of that era, the early 90s, I thought those cars were just the biggest pieces of shit,
Yeah.
only to then end up,
Buying one later.
buying the WRX.
That's right.
And that car was absolutely fucking amazing. Like, man,
Yeah.
I slept on this for way too long. It was absolutely Grimlock was an amazing car.
I would love to have a Brat, actually. I would love to have one of those. Or I saw, what is the newer version of the Brat that had the like tiny bed in the back? We just saw one.
Is it a Baja?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's what
we
it's
just
called.
saw one like 3 or 4 days ago
And
in the
I
parking
think
lot.
Hyundai makes one too.
The Santa Cruz.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what it is.
Hyundai's not an option for me, period.
I still could not. What?
There's a Skeeter. You get it?
No.
Look like you got it. Yeah, no, Hyundais are not an option. But I think that the design on those, other than the lighting on the front end,
The Santa Cruz or
Yeah.
the Baja?
the Santa Cruz, I think the design on those is okay, other than the lighting on the front. They have that silly Christmas tree shape, like fanning light pattern on the front.
Oh.
I don't really
yeah.
care for it.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, if it wasn't a Hyundai, I would be interested in it.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Would you be interested in a Subaru?
Yeah. I mean, my daughter has the Outback, and it's a nice car. Or no, she has a Forester. Sorry.
We were because this was just coming up. We kick around the funny joke about getting a Raptor every once in a while, and there's a couple neighbors in the area. Like when we walk past the house, I just Raptor, as a joke,
Right.
because if money was no object, I'd love to have. Anyway,
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
right. Then I could tow the kids as band trailers, and I would just be happy as a clam.
Yeah.
Venus had her heater wasn't blowing hot air
In her Explorer?
in the Explorer.
Oh.
And I can't remember where we were at when she told me. Where were we? I was parked. Oh, we went to go pick up Big Al's over here, Original Pete's. One night. She's like,
yeah.
my heater, it's not blowing when I'm just sitting. And I went, what? And then we're obviously moving in the moment. I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm good right now. She's like, yeah, but I think something's off. It's not. So
So she's saying when she stops at a light or something, it stops blowing warm?
yes. So
Mm.
she is kind of dropping this. I'm like, okay. So I'm kind of like noodling a couple things in my mind. Like, well, is she like it gets cooler, or is she? Because she's got the coldest fucking hands on the planet at any given moment in time. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take it to go. So I pull up to the front door as far as I can.
Yeah.
She gets out to go pick up the order, and I go and park, and the engine's running. It's still blowing hot air, and I'm there for like maybe 30 seconds, and I'm kind of like eyeballing back at the restaurant to see if she's coming out so I can back up and then come get her hot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's cold.
Oh.
The air coming out of the heater is cold. And I
Oh.
went, oh, shit. All right. But then I see her, so I put it in reverse, and I start backing up, and then it gets hot. And I went, okay. So now I'm in this, like, I'm trying to solve problems and, like, missing the fact that I've got to I'm like, wait, what just happened? I was parked. And
Yeah, that's bizarre.
So she gets in the car, and I go, oh, yeah, something's off.
Yeah.
Something's off. Her coolant was way low. I don't know. And she does, right. She does like the regular maintenance stuff that's in the book. Like she has no problems taking it in as like part of like the program that they offer there.
Right.
It's fine. Like, it's part of the oil changes are built in, whatever. Cool. I mean, if they're going to, right. I'm not offended that she doesn't want me to change her oil. If she's paying for something, a service
Sure.
that's already bundled into whatever. I don't care. But checking, as anyone that's had a new car or it uses dealer services when you buy a new car. Oh, I did get it. Jesus, look at that. It's still stuck between my fucking fingers. That's gross. Hashtag Gulanzi. Not a sponsor. checking the coolant and like some of those things is all part of the basic. So, and I can't recall what she said the last time she took it in, but the amount of coolant from the minimum line to where she was at, like,
surprisingly low,
was, I would say, virtually impossible to have
noticed it.
Not been there, and she wouldn't have burned through it in the time when someone would have, like, I think it's 6 months at best. 6 months she would have been there last, and like they would have done a 13 whatever checkpoint, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
and it would have been signed off on.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, so that's not right. We have to fix that either way. First off,
Yeah.
we kind of put it off as like, well, make an appointment, because if it's something that they need to take care of, or if there's a warranty thing here, then we need to get that above board. We left it for like a day, I think Sunday. Then she's like, as we're noodling how we're going to jockey cars around so that she can make said appointment, I walk away, and then she pulls up and is jawing at me from the kitchen table. She's like, there's a little thing here that says that if the coolant low, obviously check your coolant before you need to take it in anywhere, because as it runs through the heat exchanger or the coolant heating.
The heater core?
The heater core.
Yeah.
This runs through the heater core. The system will cut off the heater core to use the coolant that it needs to cool the engine. Well, obviously.
Yeah, because that's what you're seeing.
Right. And when you rev the car, the water pump will then just pump the coolant everywhere, regardless of the solenoid that comes in and out, because the coolant is low.
Yeah.
And that's why anytime there is throttle, she would get hot air. Ah, perfect. So we go get Ford.
But why is it low?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's sketchy, right?
Right. So with the one night, so we went and got coolant, Ford OEM coolant, filled it up, left it. I think I turned it on. It was still doing cold air. So I'm like, okay, well, now we're in next step mode. I said, so we've covered the coolant part, which was not great, but have you noticed the engine doing anything? Like, there's going through that much coolant is a problem somewhere.
It's either leaking or eating it.
Right.
Right.
And I said, do you notice any engine doing anything? The white smoke out of the back, right?
Yeah.
Like when the RS had the gasket problem, you could tell that the RS was ripping through coolant because I was losing coolant, but also the telltale signs of the cylinders burning it.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, have you noticed like, puddle or drips or anything like that? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. So we replace the coolant. We'll park it in the garage. I'll put, something underneath it so we can see if anything drips. The amount of coolant that was gone, this was not going to be like a
trivial thing.
Right. This was going to be, I'm going to see a puddle at the end of the night.
Well, I mean, it depends on the last time it was checked and if it was full or not.
Sure. But
yeah,
my perspective was for the amount that's missing, and if I want to say that Ford technicians did their job and the coolant was at level,
yes,
we've lost way too much coolant for it to be a one drip per night kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd see something like a quarter worth of something, condensate, colored orange fluid somewhere.
Yeah.
The next day, not a deal. There was no leak, no drips. I got underneath the Explorer. There's nothing, no
telltale white crusties.
Signs. Yeah, there's no buildup from something that is leaking on parts. Like, I'm fairly confident that there's no hose leaks. Nothing is dripping from the engine bay. That doesn't rule out the head gasket,
right?
Obviously, but that would have been that's above my pay grade either way,
right?
So I'm like, all right. We're back to make an appointment kind of things. I get off work and I'm punching around like, what maybe would I have missed? I filled up the coolant. And on some Ford Explorer forum thing, there was a Ford technician that said, if you run into a situation where the engine is using its smart solenoid whatever routing, because your coolant gets so low, there may be air pockets in the heater core.
Yeah.
And you can flush it to get the air bubble out, or you can just park it on an incline, start it, and just
Gas it.
give it the beans with the heater on full.
Yeah.
Crack your coolant reservoir lid, cap, and
so the air can escape.
so it'll burp itself out like bleeding a brake line kind of a thing. And I went, well, I just happen to have a very steep incline driveway.
That's true.
I'm like, I'm going to try this, and we'll just see what happens. We ran it, and it didn't appear to solve it in that moment.
Yeah.
But then I think she went somewhere. We were rotating cars around to, I think we needed to park Piper in here. Or we had burped it in the driveway, and we were moving cars around again for somewhere, so she was parked over here by the mailboxes. And I'm trying to tell her to move shit around, and she's like, "Come here." And so I fucking walk over, and she's like, "It's
working.
It's working." And I went, "Well, fucking of course it is." It's the incline burping is a thing, and we have did it.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting problem to have.
Yeah, we talked about this when it happened, but I had an issue with Melly's car, where I think someone put something in the coolant system, probably to fix a head gasket problem.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure that clogged up the heater core.
Yeah.
So at some point, her vent would blow cold, but the other side of the car would blow hot. So part of the heater core got blocked, so it wasn't passing hot through it, and that part was blowing cold through it, which is bizarre to me. They're so close to each other. That thing's not that big.
Right.
So I ended up having to flush out her heater core, and then burping that system was not easy.
Really?
Yeah. I had to jack the front end up and get it up off the ground, and then I have one of those coolant tanks that you can put on the radiator.
Yeah.
You can get, you can see bubbles coming out.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was not easy. And I mostly fixed that. It didn't completely clean it, but she got heat out of it.
Better.
Yeah, better. So
I totally forgot where I was going. Oh, because we were talking about Subarus. So
the GL is what Steve had, speaking of Subarus.
Oh.
So it was like a
Grand Legacy.
No, it's just, I think they just call it a Subaru GL.
Oh.
And it's like a 80s early, I think it was like a mid or early 80s. Just little square, boxy, tiny little tires.
Yes.
That thing would go anywhere.
And it had a tire. Wait, where was the spare? Was the spare inside the engine bay? No.
I don't remember.
They still had a front mount or a top mount intercoolers on the one that my friend's mom had.
Uh-huh.
And I went, I don't understand what this is.
Right.
What is...
What
is this here for?
Yeah, what's the
water's so going to get in this.
Yeah,
exactly. This is a terrible idea.
Doesn't it go right into the motor?
Yeah, that's going to go right in. No wonder you guys complain about this thing. But when the things were like the coolant thing, we're like, well, we could trade it in and we could get a Raptor.
There you go.
But all kidding aside, so then we're poking around, and it was car prices suck.
Oh
dude.
Yeah, I know.
For her to get an Explorer with the relatively same price point that she paid for hers, which was high 40s,
mm-hmm.
She could not get an all-wheel drive version. The sport model that she has, they rotated into the next Explorer platform, and to get a sport Explorer, it would be rear-wheel drive.
Damn.
So she would have to add in an option package for four-wheel drive.
And then that would put her at what?
And then she'd be up over 50.
Jeez.
So the whole thing starts to, I'm like, oh, so that's not an option. So then we're like, okay, well you're looking at the edges and the thing just down, which probably isn't that big of a deal, but the power that we enjoy from her V6 would go
Isn't
away.
it a twin turbo V6 too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things started to like the price points
Escalate quickly.
for exactly what she has
Yeah.
like went completely sideways. I'm like, well, what are they? You have to downsize her car
Yeah.
to get an affordable price point.
Comparable.
I'm like, so I was, let's do some car shopping stuff. I was donkey punched right and left, like what was supposed to be like, oh, I'm just making Christmas list kind of things. It was like, this is frustrating,
Yeah.
and disappointing.
Yeah.
And then I went and I'm like, well, fucking, what's Subaru? Subaru has tons of great options below 40. And I went, well, fuck. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like the Outback with like a wilderness package that comes
All-wheel drive.
all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And a turbo 2-point, the same, you haven't seen it, but Emily's new WRX, like now you'd have to probably watch the oil pickup stuff, but I have confidence in the way Venus drives. She would probably have a problem with the motor.
Right.
I have the ultimate confidence in the all-wheel drive system in those things. And outside of the, everyone's got problems mechanically at some point. I was never let down by the Subaru I had. And so we were telling
And you
her,
kind of beat on that one a little bit.
I drove it hard.
Yeah.
Not hoon it, but
Right.
I put long miles repeatedly nightly playing Ingress.
I remember.
Like, and how fast can I drop that anchor from home in Truckee?
Well, I remember when we went to Forest Hill or something.
It was Georgetown.
Georgetown. That's what it And I'm like, we didn't know each other that well. And I think it was probably the first time you'd ever let anybody ride with you. Is my understanding.
Yes, I don't think Toast had even ridden with me.
Yeah, and I remember telling you, I like your car, but you don't have to impress me. And you were like, yeah, okay. And then I'm just like, oh shit.
Just
like,
tell me when you're scared.
in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. No, it was fine.
Yeah. I scared some people, I'm sure. But it was frustrating. But then it was, I told her the other day, I'm like, I think it was the morning I was making a breakfast where we'd come over to the gym, and I went, I have something disappointing to say. She was like, what? And that thing, I'm like, I went like poking around at like, oh, well, maybe we could get a new car and trade in the Explorer for something. And I went, no. Like,
Yeah.
the payments would be higher than you're paying now.
Yeah.
Even with a decent trade-in of the Explorer. I'm like, no. It makes no sense to do anything like that right now.
My takeaway from Ford in general is that their cars tend to be fairly well built, right? But that their pricing is super high. That's how I've always my inclination of them is that, like, I've looked at it like, oh, that's kind of a cool car. Oh shit, they're that much? Kind of thing.
I think unless you're getting a plain F-150, yeah, you're probably paying a lot.
Yeah.
They're
on the premium end of the pricing structure. I don't
think. See, and that's not necessarily true, because I don't think I paid much over MSRP for the RS.
But that was before all the crazy markups. And
that's
stuff.
correct. Yeah, and that before supply and demand.
Yeah.
And Piper was mentioning something just the other day. We were talking about cars, and I said, because I think I just read like a Cox automotive report about where pricing was,
mm-hmm.
and it was that prices should be coming down, but they're not coming down as fast as markets would indicate.
Yeah.
Supply and demand we're really beyond that at this point. I meant to say supply chain, but so supply of the cars, they're not necessarily short in those, because they're waiting on something from another region because COVID has locked down or quarantined somebody.
Yeah.
The slowdown to price shifts towards consumers has a lot to do with dealerships knowing that
Cars are scarce.
People will pay the prices. Force me to lower my price to where I can. Until then, yeah, I'm marking this thing up $7,500 below MSR or above MSRP because people are working from a mentality that that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I'll just have to figure out
I
how
have to have a car.
Yeah, I'll have to make a $900 payment work. I don't know how, but that's where it is when the business and supply side, there's no indication that it needs to be that high anymore.
Right.
People are just so uninformed and uneducated that they're kind of not walking in with the ammunition or the firepower that they need to be able to say, okay, well, I'll just wait.
Well, that's an interesting.
I'm not paying that.
That's an interesting thought because I keep seeing TikToks, and they're like a guy on a Dodge dealer or a Ford dealer, where the whatever dealer it is just loaded with trucks, loaded with them.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Look, they're not moving trucks. Like, why? Nobody's talking about this. Why are they not talking about this?" Part of the reason why they're not moving trucks is because their prices are so high and there's markup.
Right.
And he's also, this is being primed for a big discount future so they can get some of these trucks off the lot.
Right.
But the problem is that they still want the premium. And I think it shouldn't be allowed for the dealer to like crazily mark up an MSRP. I don't think they should be able to put a premium unless it's like they've added a bunch of shit to the car.
Right.
And then that's just, you could have done the same thing.
Right. And what you're, I was telling Piper, what you're starting to see, which is one of those things that's become an advantage to the consumer if they can have patience and work the system.
Yeah.
I certainly see this among like car tubers is, I've seen Mike do this too. You're looking for a car, you don't scrub your local area, you scrub, and then you work with perhaps a dealer that will move it. If you buy it here, will you pay a small transit fee or something? The new Tacomas that came out this year, really nice.
Yeah,
tons of dealer markups, way above MSRP. I'm watching this one guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I found a dealership out of Washington State that is selling them at MSRP." He's like, "So," and I think he was in Tennessee. He's like, "So, I'm going to get my Tacoma from Washington
because you can buy a plane ticket,
right,
for way cheaper. You can save that
some
money.
of these guys, right? This guy is going to Washington State, and he is in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like no one around
He's
him.
going to spend $600 on a ticket or whatever, $400 or whatever it is. And then he's not going to pay $7,000 over or something.
I'm like, you're just going to start to see this as like people are going to be like, they'll go to the auto mall and be like, I really like this thing. You going to give this to me at MSRP? No, absolutely not. Why would we not do that? Okay. Do you take transfers from Seattle? Well, yeah, they're a Toyota affiliate.
There you go.
Okay, well then, my Toyota will be here next week. You missed out.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That's the whole point. Don't do business with the dealers that are doing the markups.
Right, yeah.
But that's the problem, is way too many people are willing to do that.
I agree.
Everyone talks about how they don't have any money. Where are all these people getting
I don't know.
$7,000 or more extra money to like spend on a car that's already overpriced?
Yeah, who was your son, or it might have been you, like months back, sent us a TikTok where like they're going around the salesmen in the dealership.
Oh yeah, I said that.
And they're like measuring dicks about how big and how many car payments. Yeah, how big their car? Like,
I got 3 cars.
I got a Hellcat and a TRX and my car payments are $1,500 and $17,500, and you're like, why?
Then what do you? How much money
Where
are
do
you making?
Yeah, do you live in one of those? Like,
yeah, for real.
Fucking A.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
I
there's
know, it's
no way.
bonkers.
I don't understand, and I hate to see that type of content being made. Like it's some sort of
dick measuring
it's
contest.
Cool
Yeah,
to overpay.
yeah,
Like, stop, please.
yeah. No, I thought that was fucking ridiculous. I do not see there's no value in that. First of all, not only are they new cars, so you're paying these outrageous, and they're asking what the payments are. So your payments are outrageous, but also the insurance on those is expensive because they're new cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chandler found out the hard way with the truck, with the Ranger. His insurance was crazy expensive.
Because it was a Tremor?
Because it was basically a 22 Tremor. Yeah.
So the trim package?
I assume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And maybe it was because it was a Ranger, a Ford. I don't know. But he was like, what the heck? So he started shopping
for rates?
Insurance, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we found him a pretty good deal. They're both on State Farm. Chandler's like on our policy.
Mm-hmm.
And his fiance Nicole is also on State Farm. Her insurance was like $250 a month.
Wow.
A month.
Wow.
So they're going to be saving between the two of them through my family. Got him into USAA,
mm-hmm.
and they got a pretty good deal on insurance. So, but I can't imagine what they're spending on insurance plus car payments,
sure,
plus registration every time cars are due.
Yeah.
What the shit? I mean, it depends on what state you're in.
Sure.
If you're in Oregon, I think it's like $45 to register a car. You know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, fuck you, Oregon.
I know, right?
Enjoy Greater Idaho.
Well, and then here in California, if it's a pickup truck that's of certain size, like I think the Ranger's under the size, but if it's an F-150, like a full-size pickup, you're paying commercial registration on that.
Yeah.
And then it's really, I mean, you're talking $800 a year or more, depending on the cost of your car, your truck, on how much you're paying for registration for the year. That's just to register your car so it's legal to drive on the street. That is crazy too. I feel like you and I both do pretty well financially.
Yeah. I fear needing to get a car.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like it's coming up for me at some point.
Which sucks because you're like, I do well.
Yeah.
I would, I don't need to have the same thing for 20 years, but at the same time, I understand utility and I need to get what I want out of a car.
Well, that's problematic though, too.
But my things change. My needs and driving types and skills,
Yeah.
The current market absolutely just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, one of the issues.
What am I supposed to do?
One of the issues, though, is if you hang on to a car too long, your trade value really starts to dump out, right?
Sure.
So, at some point, its value is prime for a trade-in, right? Maybe between 3 and 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Right.
And then after that, it really starts to tank because now it's an older vehicle that's running up on miles and, all this kind of stuff. So now the car that you spent all this money on and hung on to for a while because car prices were already super expensive is worth less when you go to trade it in, and now you're in a worse situation.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's no good either. So it's like if you're not playing the consumerism thing and like upgrading every 3 to 5 or 6 years, then you're losing out at some point.
Right. Yeah. And what makes that hard for me is like when you talk cell phones, for the most part, if you were to, rotate a new phone as they came out, it's like the bill really isn't going to change much.
Right.
It may go up $20 or so here or there, but you're Are you rolling over the same 2-year contract every year because you're picking up the new phone and you're paying a subsidized fee in each monthly payment? Yeah, but it's going to be consistent. What has changed from the last time I bought the RS and Venus bought the Explorer is that if she was to say, okay, I've hit 5 years and I've put a medium amount of mileage on the car and I pay $500 a month in a car payment, I want to roll this with the trade-in value into the next thing. She would not be able to pay $500.
No, it would be $650 or something.
Yeah, $600, $700, $800.
Yeah,
and she probably wouldn't get
what she had before.
A like-for-like vehicle.
Yeah, she would be downgrading.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would be like, oh, well, it's iPhone 10 and iPhone 11. And then when the 11 came out, you're like, you need to pay $50 extra, and it has the hardware of the 8.
Right.
And you're like,
wait, what?
No. Well, if you want the same amount of payments,
Oh, and then on top of that, let's talk about subscription services like heated seats and shit like that. I mean, what the fuck? So now you're buying the car and you don't even get all the features.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I want heated seats. Well, that's going to be $15 a month. Thank you. What? They're already in my car. So now I have to pay you to unlock the
Who's
fucking
doing
heated
that?
seats. BMW.
No shit.
Yes.
The heated seats are a...
Yeah, and that's probably one of a few subscription-based things that they have decided to go with.
Well, it's spring, and I don't need a hot ass, so turn off the heated seat service?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So,
wow.
And the thing is your car that you bought has the fucking hardware in it, but they are locking it.
Oh, I don't like that.
I know.
I don't like that at all.
I know. I am also not liking that. And I don't know if it's just BMW that's doing it. It could be some others. I've read a couple articles about it.
No way.
Yeah, it's bonkers, man. So, let that sink in for a bit.
I get like the AI, the automated driving features like in a Tesla, like, oh, do you want to pay for this option?
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. But to like, are you a single car owner? You can only pay for the subscription service to heat the left side of the car. What?
Yeah.
If you have a passenger, that vent doesn't work unless it's $199 a month. Like
liability reasons, we can't turn that one on until you've got.
Just get in the car. We'll go down there. Why is there a blanket on the passenger seat? Because I don't pay for the subscription service for the passenger vents.
Just shut up and get in.
Get in the fucking car.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, man.
Shit.
Well, and there's a lot of that going on because, like, think about all the electric cars are all over-the-air updates, and there's so much control outside of the thing that you purchased that you don't have any say in. One day Tesla might update the fucking UI to be 10 times worse than it was yesterday, and you get in one day and it's just, where is the fucking? How do I get to the? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you don't have an option. It's not like you can say downgrade.
Who is it? Hertz, the rental car company
I saw that.
turned the thing. And like, I saw someone do a breakdown, and it was one of the things that Hertz ran into was that people who wanted to rent one, like, would turn around after, like, in the parking lot, would walk back into the kiosk, be like, I don't understand how, like, the touch screen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you want to get in? They came from the airport, wherever they're at. They want to get in the car. They want to drive to the destination and come back. And they think, ooh, Tesla, an EV, yay! All the stuff. They get in the car and.
Where's the shift lever?
There is a monstrous learning curve for the bulk of the renters, and it was too much. Like, I don't understand.
It's too
like how this works. You do everything from the touchscreen, sir. But like how? And so the customer service reps were spending too many cycles
showing people
in one-on-ones on how to use the Tesla touchscreen interface that customer service was taking a dive,
Right.
amongst all the other things that had to do with like whether or not EVs were actually more expensive to maintain because of dinks and dents, like the fucking that $40,000 article about the
battery or the Rivian.
The Rivian.
Yeah.
Like Teslas suffer from that kind of thing too. Like their ability to make repairs quick with quick turnaround is also a struggle. If you ask anyone, like, oh, I have a dink or dent or scratch and I need it repaired at a Tesla certified blah blah blah, like the waiting list is compelling, frustrating. So
well, there's other reasons why I think Tesla's done a very good job. There are things about Teslas that I absolutely despise, but one of them is just Elon Musk.
Sure.
So
yes.
I wouldn't spend my hard-earned money on a thing that I knew that any of those pennies would end up in that guy's pocket.
Right.
Aside from that, I think that how they have gone to the completely buttonless interface in the center screen on, say, like the Model Y or the Model 3, where the shifter and everything, the fucking pop in the glove box, like everything is controlled from that screen.
Yeah.
You don't even have a heads-up display to tell you how fast you're going, which I just think is like, how is that even legal from like a standpoint of federal regulations? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess Mini has done it.
You drove one at those car shows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would bug
the shit out of me.
Did you get a primer or anything like that, or they just hand you the thing and go take a drive?
No, he's like, oh, the shifter's right on the top left corner of the screen. All you got to do is flick it up and have fun. And that was pretty much all you got.
Okay.
And that was all you really needed. Like, well, how do I shift gears? I don't even know. I mean, to like be taking your eyes off the road to look over here to find out how fast you're going is ridiculous. I watched an interesting video today that was talking about the new refresh Model 3 versus the BYD Seal. I think it's called the Seal.
Okay.
And I mean, they're very comparable cars.
Who makes
BYD? It's a Chinese company.
Oh, okay.
Build Your Dreams. I don't know what.
Oh,
something like that. But I don't know that they're here in the U.S. yet. But at least at a minimum, they were in the U.K. because it was like Car Wow or somebody was doing a.
Okay.
Fascinating how the BYD approach to like the dash and the heads-up display and all that shit compared to the Tesla's completely minimalistic, no buttons, no frills on the inside of the car. But the Tesla still won with how much storage they have, how much frunk space they have, performance, like how it handles. Like there's a lot of things that Tesla has done right that someone like a newcomer like BYD they really don't tune their suspension the same way, and that hurts them in that, that kind of stuff.
I had this feeling that the moment he stepped foot in China was only a matter of time before, oh wow, imagine that. China has like almost a like for like model functionality, sizing.
China very much knocks off cars. Now, they're not exact, but they are.
Like, yes, come Mr. Musk and build in China. We'll let you build in China, but we have to have our engineers in your shop. Well, what would they be doing?
Right.
Just observing to make sure. Right, and they're all like scanning.
They're very similar. I mean, some of the exterior bits and parts obviously are different.
Sure,
but they are they're very similar.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Uh-huh.
Now, handling wise and performance wise, they're completely different. The BYD had a little bit bigger battery and had a little bit more horsepower on the dual motor than the 3 did.
Yeah.
Just barely edged it out in a quarter mile by the hair of its chin. But I think Tesla's done a lot of good things. If Elon Musk gets booted out of the company, I will consider buying one. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I'm down with buying an electric car, it wouldn't be a Tesla. That's one of the big reasons.
Yeah, I would agree.
But then there's also some other stuff. I mean, stuff like the cluster and shit, just dumb shit like that I think is just inexcusable. Yeah. So. But yeah, I mean, and that car, you can get the Model 3 now, which is interesting, for like $40,000 for the single motor.
Yeah.
$39.95 or something. They're not too expensive now.
Or
that is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
An all-wheel drive, turbocharged 2.5 liter.
Yeah.
Subaru with 4 doors.
That eventually will need a head gasket.
And yeah, eventually. With a manual and a clutch pedal and all kinds of buttons and gauges.
I mean, I do like Mellie's Forester. It's a nice car to drive.
Yeah.
I have no problem. I'll be doing it. I'll be driving her home.
I put it on my calendar. Early show before the 14th. Early show.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll probably record on the 13th that day.
I wonder what the weather's going to be like.
It's icy up there now. Hopefully all this shit blows over by the time I have to fly up.
You're like, Melly, put this blindfold on. Don't say shit.
Oh my gosh.
Daddy's doing the business.
Well, really the whole hope for me is that she'll want to drive some. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't want to drive the whole way. What I'm saying is she should drive some.
Yeah, I would. Sure.
From a build yourself esteem on that shit, because she just should. And I'm more than willing to drive. I just don't think that I should have to drive the entire way. I think that she should drive.
You should put in some seat time. If she's uncomfortable,
yeah,
there'd be no better person than Dad, or Mom, to be there to help answer questions or work with her to get over a small stint of driving. To build on confidence. Absolutely.
I mean, to be fair, she did a couple of trips between Salem and Portland, which is in like an hour-ish. Mm-hmm. So she hadn't really done that. And then when we were up there moving her to Salem, she actually drove to Salem.
Yeah.
Which I was like, Melly drove the whole time? Because I was in the van. Mm-hmm. When we got there, I said to she, Melly drove the whole way? She was like, yeah. Oh, okay, good.
Well, we don't speak of these things. We just smile and nod.
I was happy to hear that, because really she really hadn't done that. And I think also that she had to take a couple of trips to the airport. And to the airport in Portland from where she's at is you got to get on the highway in a couple spots at least. You're not going to want to do it through town. It's just too long.
Yeah.
But, get a Subaru.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not perfect.
No, they're not.
They're not perfect, but they're good cars.
I have no complaints with the Subaru I had.
Yeah.
If you were going to drive it like I was in my 20s, then it would probably have given up the
head gasket.
The head gasket.
I worry about that with Melanie's car because I fear that it does have a head gasket issue.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And the head gaskets are no fun to do on those cars. It's pretty much an engine out thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lift.
Man, I went through, what did I do? I was like I'm going to start cleaning some stuff since I've got time. I went through like my Amazon, like one of my Amazon wish lists.
Yeah.
And, I get to like the third page. And
you got that many things in your wish list?
Oh, yeah, because like if I get...
You just keep adding
shit.
I
just add shit to
it.
And sometimes it's like Christmas ideas for kids or Venus or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like page 3, and there's an engine hoist.
Oh, Jesus.
And like an engine mount for like a
stand.
Engine stand.
Yeah.
And like the crank to pitch.
Oh,
and yaw. And like, why would it happen? I'm like looking at the date. I'm like, why the fuck would it happen? And it was when the Jeep was here.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, fucking, we may need to take the engine out because if I'm going to do blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I had like Dorman, like a whole new like valve train for a Jeep in like my wish list. Gaskets, pistons, rods, bearings. I'm like,
good news for
what
you.
the fuck? Yeah. And I went, well, don't have one of those.
The Jeep's not even around
not
anymore.
Here, not here, not here, not here. Sweet.
That's hilarious. So in other news, like remember my Raid went sideways?
Yes.
It still works. So
now you have a spare drive that's not in your thing.
Yeah. So it had a drive that failed, and an alarm. I pulled the drive, to basically get what kind of model and size and all that shit so I could order the same thing.
Right.
And I put it back in the Raid just to quiet the alarm. And the Raid rebuilt
itself on the shit drive.
Rebuild itself on the drive that it said was bad previously. And now it's just chugging.
It's doing its thing.
Yeah, and I have a drive. I ordered the drive and it rebuilt, and then the drive came and I went, fuck. So I guess I'll just hang on to it.
Was it expensive?
$70 or something.
For how big?
I think it was, I don't remember. I think was it a 4 terabyte or something?
That is so crazy. Can you imagine? You remember like 1990s and changed to buy a desktop PC and you're like 128 meg hard drive. It's like
my
bonkers price. And now there's 4 terabytes for $70.
Well, yeah. My first Mac had
unreal.
It was a Power Mac. What was that? 6100, and it came with a 700 megabyte hard drive. And I think about this a lot. Like, I think our show, when I copy the show, it's 600 and something megs, you know?
Yeah.
And back in the day, you copy a SCSI drive and copy 700 megabytes to another SCSI drive, because I used to work in that industry. That would take a couple of hours, right? To copy 700 megs from one drive to another, just the contents. I can take our show, which is one file that's 600 and something megabytes, and copy it from the drive that I've given you, which is this LaCie drive, portable, and copy it to my RAID at home, and it literally takes 2 seconds. Blung, it just goes. That's how fast. That used to take hours.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day to copy 700 megabyte.
Man.
It's bonkers.
And
now you can buy 8, 12 terabyte drives. I mean, spinners, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're not very expensive, $100 or $120.
Like we've got, like, even in the enterprise level, like we would do like file systems built off of RAID arrays, and you're like, okay, how much do you need? And like, man, a gig is gonna be plenty. Well, how much is on here in total? Well, it's a 56 gig array.
Yeah.
And we've migrated from a lot of local SAN now to NAS solutions where it's just
on the network.
It's just on the network.
Yeah.
And I see terabytes.
Oh yeah.
Of what are you
might even have petabytes around.
Oh, well, I'm sure that EMC arrays have petas in them for sure. But these guys are like, looking at a file that's like a 20 terabyte share. Like, what are you doing? I can't even
fathom what you would need to
what you would even be needing for 20 terabytes.
Yeah.
Because
that's a lot of customer data.
Right. I have been in this industry for 25 years.
Yeah.
I know what you guys were doing.
Yeah.
On gigs. And if it was 100 gigs, it was few and far between, and it was like a retention thing.
Yeah.
This thing was a 20 terabyte NAS volume For what?
Yeah.
What were you doing? What could you possibly be doing? Because the industry hasn't changed much for me. There's analytics, there's databases, there's algorithms processing the databases.
Yeah.
Like, time hasn't multiplied itself to generate like the cascade amount of the information that they were using 10 years ago to process the same analytics.
Well,
what the fuck is going on?
I don't know what a bank's doing different, but like from a personal standpoint and professional standpoint, we use way more gigs and pictures and video, right?
Right, and these aren't video.
Right. And professional standpoint, if you're a video editor of any kind, you'll have shitloads of fucking storage
absolutely.
for that stuff.
Well, like the video, the 2 streams of video that we do for the show is like 80 gigs a whack.
Yeah.
So I believe certainly in some mediums and professional industries.
Oh yeah.
The data gets
we're
out of
doing
hand
like
fast.
ProRes LT, right? And so you think about if they're doing HQ or a 444 ProRes, those files are huge, and you're not making anything that's worthwhile in a professional industry that's using LT typically.
No.
We're going to YouTube, so no one gives a fuck. And honestly, with ProRes, you can't tell a difference really.
Right.
But if you are doing any kind of post-production work and manipulating your images or your video, you're going to want all that extra quality, and that takes up a lot of fucking room,
Yeah.
I can't imagine how much space some of these like full feature length films use.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what they're shooting with. Red or
I was going to say red cameras
Yeah.
and IMAX shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's bonkers. And those files are ginormous. They're using petabytes of storage. And then they're doing online editing, which is another thing where they have a smaller file that represents the bigger file, and they edit with the smaller shit. And then when they do the render, it uses the bigger file to like utilize the full
apply the thing. Huh.
Yeah, so they have that going on, which takes up even more space because now you're storing 2 of the everything or more, depending on what you're doing. So it's crazy. Like I don't know what I'm just thinking in my own mind, like they're just storing people's fucking phone numbers and addresses and account numbers and shit. I don't know what else they would need that much storage for at a bank. Transactions. They got to save transactions and stuff.
Like all the micro shit from trading and all that business.
I guess as transactions grow,
far more like almanac-y type of things, like
so
events,
what's
news,
happened in history,
so that you can plot. It's a lot of stuff. Like, what else are you doing? It's in order to make predictions using the tools, they trend all data. But it's like
time marches on, though, they got to keep storing all that stuff. So that just grows and grows and grows to like help their analytics get more smart, right?
Sure.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine too, like what would Netflix's storage look like, or Prime Video's storage, or like any of these streaming services? Like what is YouTube's like? Holy shit. They're the mother of all
data store. Yeah, because they get my YouTube every week, baby.
Yeah. And
what are you doing with that 12 to 13 gigs every week?
Yeah.
And no one watches us.
Well, so by the time they get it, it's not that big because it's compressed. But that's nothing. That's not nothing.
Yeah.
270 shows or however many we've got up there now.
276. Welcome to Sad Dad's Club Podcast. I'm Lord Fu.
I'm Jim.
We're at time.
Yeah, that's bonkers though.
Yeah.
that is a lot of fucking storage, and they have to hold that somewhere where it's accessible by somebody at some point, and
I do wonder
that's crazy.
if we'll ever see like you've been here for 15 years, like we start start sunsetting stuff after like 15 years of retention. I do wonder if eventually we'll see that from something like YouTube. Like,
I presume they have the first video that was ever uploaded still available somewhere.
Do they just continually put, storage things offshore, be using the cooling ocean to cool it? Like,
some AWS server farm somewhere.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Do you just keep adding disks to hold all the stuff until forever? Or Elon Musk buys you and then decides that everything needs to be in GIF form, and
we'll buy YouTube and then call it X2.
Right. Or X-rated, because that's the way he rolls, or some shit.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's the kind of stuff that like kind of blows my mind. Like, where's all that stuff?
Because I think about that, it's like, well, how long is our stuff going to actually be on the how long?
I don't know.
Like, I'm kind of doing this to like have like a time capsule.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, fucking, what happens if it's not? Like, shit, I need to plan accordingly.
Nothing is forever.
I would agree.
Nothing's forever.
It really just needs to last at least for my kids.
At least a year's-ish.
We're at time.
Okay.
But I have one question.
All right.
Okay. And I've posed this to my kids.
Is the answer no?
It's a prison.
Okay.
So, and you got to think as fast as possible.
Oh, I'm not good at these.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here was the question. The Armageddon apocalypse is coming. The Russians are just down the street.
Yeah.
We have to leave from right here.
Yeah.
Take something that you think is going to be useful as we get the fuck out of here.
Oh, my God. Oh,
what are you grabbing?
Jesus Christ. Underwear.
From my house?
From your house.
Yeah, we're right here.
I thought you meant like I was at home. Oh, from here? My car? I don't know.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I blasted my son.
I don't know what's here other than porn. And I don't think that would be super useful.
Big old dick.
There's the big black cock.
I would just suck your dick. Wait, no.
It's on the back window.
Come
of
and
the
get me, Russians.
I mean,
as the garage door opens, put on your weapons. I'm sucking dick, and then just to shut the garage door and leave us.
They're
like, well, that worked.
We move on now.
Yes, we don't do the gays. Fuck those guys.
I mean, I don't know.
And then we high five, and you turn around, and I blow it on your back, and we just walk away.
I mean, I'm just seeing the stuff that's here on the bench, and I mean, I don't know, the disco ball.
So my son said he would grab his Swiss Army knife.
Okay.
And
that's more useful than a disco ball
or a big black dildo. My wife was smart ass. She's like, I would grab you because you're the useful tool I know.
By the way, get a boner.
Yeah. Stiffen it up.
Take this blue pill.
I'm going to blow you when the Russians open the garage door. But then she said a multi-tool.
Okay.
And my daughter was the last one I could ask. And she said, my jacket. And I went, and that's it? She
Perfect.
went, and a knife.
And you only get one.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you use a knife for? And she's like, defense or to open shit. Like, and I'm like, stab people? And she's like, sure, you never know. And I went, okay.
Gut a deer.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway, so I was just curious.
I mean, from here, I would struggle because I don't know where anything's at. You know what I mean?
Right, but you would.
I would take my car home and grab some shit from there.
Yeah, I would get in my car and go get the shit and run over a Russian or four on my way out.
I watched. I know we're done. Yeah. We're at time, but I watched recently the what's the the movie that came out in the 80s where the Russians come.
Red Dawn.
Yes. Interesting.
So wait, the Jennifer Grey one or
the original one?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
God, I like that one.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze,
Yes.
Jennifer Grey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The Hemsworth was in the new one. It wasn't bad.
But it was North Korea, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have no.
Yeah.
They would be like sinking boats on the way over here. So, I have no like confidence they could even make it to the shores of.
Right. Yeah.
Like, not that we wouldn't know they were coming anyway.
The Red Dawn movie was part of the reason. What was ever the show's back with the rocks in the aluminum cans. Us watching the Red Dawn movie was like us setting up traps just in case the Russians came.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, yeah. Anyway, fuck.
All right, we're out.
Wash your hands.
Wash your ass.
Return the cart.
Check your oil, Tony.
Stay up to date on your shots.
Make the call if you need it.
Pick up a broom.
Hold on, I know this. I know.
Register to vote.
Register. Yeah, vote. And do the kindness.
And we'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.